This is how much Victober has kicked my ass. It's just completely kicked my ass. Hi everyone, I'm Natalie. This is my October wrap up. I'm filming this on the 30th of October because quite honestly the 31st is just a nightmare for me, so I thought I would just wrap it up early because I really need to move on from this month. So let's run through all the books that I did read. I finished Home Fire, which was in the first couple of days of October. God, this is a good book. I loved it. I'm so glad I started out with this great read. I read it in a couple of days, made little notes. Yeah, highly recommend if you haven't gotten around to reading this yet. And then I started my Victober campaign, and I started it with Far From the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy, which I loved. If you've watched my vlogs, I loved this book. I want to read everything Thomas Hardy has ever written. I am just in love with the way he introduces the seasons and the outlook and the land and the farming all into this novel. It was wonderfully written and I enjoyed it enormously. I read, I don't have them here, but I read a number of Sherlock Holmes stuff throughout October. I was taking part in Sherlocktober, which was on Steve Donahue's channel. So I read about 6 of the maybe 20 short stories that he had set for us to read. And then I read one of the longer stories, which was The Hound of the Baskervilles, which I adored. I really adored. I thought the short stories were great. And then I read one of the longer ones and it was brilliant. It was so well developed. I haven't read a murder mystery like that in so long. It was clever. It kept me guessing. It wasn't predictable. I just enjoyed it so much. I would highly recommend, if you've never picked up any of the Sherlock Holmes stories, read The Hound of the Baskervilles. It's the only one I've ever read that's the longer version, but it's really good. And I would highly recommend that. I had a lot of fun with Sherlocktober. And then because Victober was kicking my ass, I needed something short and sweet to read. This is my first Lionel Shriver I've ever read. Loved it and have bought 2 more books since. This was a great short little novella that was a commentary on society, which is something that's really prominent in my world right now. And I loved it enormously. You would have seen from my vlogs if you've seen that. So yeah, this I would highly recommend, The Standing Chandelier. The second Victober book that I read was Wives and Daughters. And I'm really lucky that the 2 Victober books I read, I loved, and I've discovered 2 new to me authors that I want to just dive into everything they've ever written. This was beautiful. It was, it wasn't, gushy romantic. It just had enough level of romance in there for me. It was just a wonderful story about a really good girl in Mary, and I just adored it. I'm so glad this was the read along, and I got to participate with other people that were reading it at the same time. Yeah, I just totally adored this book. Then I read with the Historical Fictionistas group in Goodreads. I read The Alienist. This was meh. This was 3 stars for me. I mean, it was just dry. There was lots of psychobabble, and I mean, I should have expected it, but obviously, I was going into something, completely different. I mean, it was clever and it was all right. It was just dry, and I kind of didn't really enjoy it that much. And it was a chunker too. It's a 500-pager. So it took up a bit of time and just left me feeling meh, which is never fun. And then as we record this, I am how many pages in? 114 pages into Rebecca. Quite honestly, I don't have much to do today while the kids are at school, so I'm going to try and knock this over before the end of the month. It's mysterious, and the setting. The writing's so good. I'm at Manderley. I'm in that house. I'm being treated poorly by that horrible housekeeper. I'm part of it. I'm already a fan of Daphne du Maurier's writing, just simply from those 100 pages that I've read. So yeah, I will finish this in October. I'm going to do reading vlogs, so you'll see what I think about it in those. So that's kind of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 books. On my Victober TBR were 3 more that I didn't do. And when I say Victober kicked my ass, it did, because I switched to classic literature out of the blue. And my brain kept saying to me, this is hard. And it really was. It really was hard to change to that style of writing. And also it was hard to kind of accept that books take a bit more attention. I'm used to kind of flying through the easy reading books, that's my world, and these are not easy to read. These are underlining with pencil, looking up every 4th word in the dictionary to find out what the hell it means. So yeah, I just didn't get through it. I didn't get through Kim for Rudyard Kipling. I got 100 pages in, and I guess the story is interesting, but the dialogue is really hard for me to understand. I know that I'm going to put this on my shelf and never get to it again, which makes me sad. Maybe I will. Maybe I underestimate myself. But yeah, this was a hard one for me. I'm really, really bummed I didn't get through this book. I'm only a tiny bit of the way in. But I'm interested in it. I really want to read it. It's just that when it came to reading Rebecca won, hands down. So I will definitely pick this up again, because I want to see what all this fuss is about with Anthony Trollope. And I think that I might have picked up the wrong one. This is the 4th book in a 6-book series. So yeah, there were references. I mean, you didn't need to read the other books, I don't think, but there were references and there were backstories that were resolved that I would have liked to have found more about, especially the little romances, which is one of the fun things about Victorian literature for me. So yeah, I kind of missed out on those stories, and the stories in this were a bit more serious. So yeah, I think what I might do with this is just hunt down the first in this series and work my way through it, and then I will have a fuller understanding. But I mean, I didn't put this down because it was too hard or, a la Kim. I put this down because I only had a few days left in October and I really, really, really want to read Rebecca. So I will get to this and I will work my way through this series. That is a promise. And then the last one, which I didn't even bother to pick up, is Agnes Grey. I blame Sean the Book Maniac for that, because he said how much he didn't like it. I should try, but once he said that, I knew I wasn't going to get through all of the books, so my interest waned. Yeah, so I didn't pick this up at all. I'm not saying I never will, but yeah, it just didn't happen. So yeah, my first time participating in Victober, and yeah, pretty much an epic fail. I should have gone back through the prompts and seen whether I could make the 2 books that I did read fit into all of the prompts to look like I succeeded, but I wanted to be honest. I failed Victober. I failed Sherlocktober. But I had a really great reading month in that I challenged myself with classic literature. I discovered Thomas Hardy and Elizabeth Gaskell. I discovered Lionel Shriver. I finally read Camilla Shamsi. Yeah, I need to look on the bright side. So yeah, that's my wrap up for October. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and hopefully I will come to you with a November TBR that is far more interesting and far more successful. We will see. Okay, take care. Bye.